podcast that floats down here.
Hi, I'm Melissa, your Stephen King veteran.
Hi, I'm Ben, the Stephen King and horror film fanboy.
And hello, I'm Luke, your first-time Stephen King reader.
Hi, welcome to the podcast that floats down
Hi.
here.
You
There
might
you
be
go.
able to hear me.
There we can. Now
There
we can.
go.
Can you hear me now?
Yes.
Yes.
Good.
This is ridiculous.
Your internet's failing you.
All right, friends. Internet is failing me. Hold on. All right, I am going to see what I can play around with. So I'm going to disconnect and try and hopefully catch you on the flip side. We'll see how that goes.
Okay, Benji, drive the boat for a few minutes.
Oh, excuse me. All right. Excellent. Hi, welcome to the podcast that floats down here. We are covering our section number 3 of The Stand tonight. This is considered book 2, the first part of book 2 from chapters 43 to chapter 47. It was a total of 179 pages. What's happened so far? I was just about to look that up to refresh myself. Basically, death came for all. Then we started getting the individual journey to 1,000 places are all to one. We don't know, but basically seeing where everybody's kind of isolation time has led them to and what they've found. But I think this was about 12 hours audiobook time altogether. It was a longer section, even though it's only 5 chapters long technically, but nice long chapters. So, all right. If you're new here, welcome. We kindly ask that you subscribe. If you've been here before, welcome back. Please hit the thumbs up button and share this with a friend who loves Stephen King books or movies, but mainly books. So, all right. Do we want to kind of jump right into the chapter summaries? Or
Hold on.
okay.
Am I here?
Seems like it.
You can hear me?
Yes. Maybe slightly delayed.
And
It's a slight delay.
well, you guys talk over me anyway all the time, so that won't be much different.
Right. Can you
It'll be
hear us?
great.
Okay.
I can hear you fine.
So, are we ready to jump into chapter 43?
Yes.
Okay, so again, these are chapter summaries that I found on a website by a guy named John Birmingham. So very much appreciate him sharing that with everybody. And that's where these descriptions come from. So there was a dead man lying in the middle of Main Street in May, Oklahoma. So in this chapter, Nick meets Tom Cullen. We get Tom's backstory. Mentally handicapped, Nick can't leave him. They partner up. Nick finds Tom a bike. They head north. They survive a tornado. Nick is stunned by the emptiness of the country. Nick dreams of Rain of Flag. They meet Julie Laurie, sexy but cruel. Nick has sex with her but realizes it's a mistake. He drives her away, and then at the end of it, they meet Ralph Brentner.
Yeah. So, like I said, a lot to digest in these chapters, a lot of new things coming at you and just very long. But I love this one. We spent the day on Saturday together as a family, and there was a running joke based off of this chapter that kept going. MOON spells turtles, and because how can you not love Tom? Tom's just a perfect, just a perfectly happy, just good dude. And it's kind of one of those that, like, reading this chapter first made me think of Hear No Evil, See No Evil, the movie with Richard Pryor and Gene Wilder. Basically, a deaf guy and a blind guy get into antics. And it's very similar in this aspect of mentally challenged, adult with a deaf and dumb person as well, and it's like they can't communicate, but somehow they become friends even without that. It's just that just shows the character, the good characters of both of them.
I'm gonna give Melissa a chance to jump in. I know she's on a delay, so
I'm working on something to fix my delay. So I will say this is the chapter. This is going to sound terrible. Nick is the character I'm least invested in at the moment. So I don't have as much to add. I love Tom Cullen, though. I like the addition of him a lot.
yeah, I like Tom. I like Nick a lot as well. And there's a problematic thing that happens in this chapter with him. It wasn't my favorite Nick moment when he open hand slaps Julie Lowry. Not a good look. Not a good look.
No problem with it whatsoever. She deserved it.
She was.
I'm sorry.
She was the fucking worst. I know. Still questionable. I don't know.
In times like these, I mean, I understand. Like when Franny got slapped by her baby daddy or whatever, completely onside, not justifiable, did not deserve it all. Julie, bitch deserved to get slapped.
She got slapped by her mother.
She did get slapped by her mother too, but she got slapped by the baby daddy.
Slapped by her mom.
Hang on, Melissa.
I don't remember that.
And she's
yeah. No, he did slap her in the car, I believe.
Mhm.
After she was like making fun of him or something. He smacked her one time and he says, "I shouldn't have hit you."
Yeah.
No, you shouldn't have, but
Yeah.
Whatever.
Yep, that definitely.
So yeah. That one unjustified, whatever. This one completely justified because she's telling Tom he's trying to give you poison. He's going to poison you. He's trying to kill you. And you can't do that. It doesn't matter, woman, man, child. If a 5-year-old was doing that to my friend who I'm trying to help, yeah, fine, for selfish reasons because I want to be able to ride further, but I'm also trying to help him so he doesn't shit himself, yeah, I'll slap you. Shut the fuck up. If I can't say shut the fuck up, I'm gonna smack you across the mouth. So no, I'm completely justified in my opinion.
Yeah, it was surprising. I was surprised that he did it. I just didn't think that would be where he would go with it. But no, she was awful. I don't think we've seen the last of her. Is my guess. But yeah, that's
fair.
The tornado scene was really interesting as well because if you can't hear, but I like the description that he had of there's an innate sense that you could tell the pressure had changed around you. And yeah, you can always tell that when that pressure drops, it's noticeable. If you've ever been near an area with funnel clouds or tornado coming in, yeah, it's an interesting feeling. And it was I liked how he was able to describe that and say, he had no indication, and basically Tom Cullen saved his life because he wouldn't have noticed until it was like, holy shit, there's a tornado. Like, we gotta get the fuck in the barn. But I thought it was interesting how the description happened for him.
Yeah, I agreed, and I like that Tom, for all of his deficiencies and everything, he's an Oklahoma boy. He knows that shit. He knows there's a tornado coming. We're getting out of here, because nope. Let's get to the barn, and he just nope. He didn't even look back. Like he didn't even grab Nick and say, "Come on." He was just gone. He's like, "Nope, sorry." Yeah, which again, in that mental capacity, completely understandable. So that's about it. Then yeah, we do meet Ralph, but just in passing. Like Ralph pulls up to him in the truck at the very end, and that kind of thing. I do like how Tom was like, "Can I bring my garage?" Like it took Tom a few seconds to.
I really like. Okay, I'm gonna talk now. I'm gonna talk now. How's that?
Perfect.
Okay. I like that Ralph is literally the embodiment of Nick's wish, because earlier in the chapter he talked about how much he missed as a lifelong hitchhiker. He missed the glint of seeing the car from over the horizon, and that you don't realize how much you come to rely on that as a hitchhiker traveling the country. And the chapter ends with him getting exactly that.
Hmm.
And even though it's not quite the right style truck, it's still a homegrown American truck. And, and the guy the, in the cab is still saying, like, you know, hey, who are you guys? Come on and hop 3 bucks in the back and let's see where you're going. So I like that it was his wish, if you will. I stopped talking.
Yeah, no, most of that came through. It was real choppy, and she's gone.
So, all right. But yeah, for the ones that didn't quite catch what Melissa was saying, she was basically saying it was funny how Nick at the beginning chapter kind of missed the joys of hitchhiking, just sitting there silent, being able to send a note and just kind of sit there. And then yeah, at the very end of the chapter, he gets his wish that comes through.
Yeah, and it's like specifically what he was saying. It's like just slightly different words that the guy says, but it's like the exact same concept.
Yeah. Exactly. All right. I think that pretty much covers 43. You know, I enjoyed it. I especially enjoyed meeting Tom and, like I said, the relationship with him and Nick there. So we'll move on to chapter 44. Opens up with, he was cracking up, baby. Don't you know it? Just know it. Very long chapter, 23K plus words. Larry fears he's going nuts. He gave up on the Harley after crashing it again. While he's asleep, a boy, Joe/Leo, sneaks up on him. Larry's nightmare fade for the first time in weeks. He meets Leo and Nadine after they follow him miles, and Joe attacks him with a knife. I think it's a bit of a spoiler for later on in the book. I don't
That
think
is new information for me. That is not talked
that's
about.
yeah.
Anyway,
So
it's okay. I'm over
yeah.
it.
Yeah, we do actually get his name later. It's Leo. But Joe attacks him with the knife. Larry tames him with music. They see Harold's barn sign. Larry begins to track them by Harold's chocolate bar wrappers. He finds their initials carved into a heart. Larry is learning responsibility by looking after Nadine and Joe. They find some small motorbikes. Nadine nearly crashes hers. Larry starts to grow attracted to her. They meet Lucy Swan. We get Lucy's backstory. They realize they've all been having the same dreams. They get to the Stovington lab where Stu is held. Harold has left messages that they're moving west to Nebraska.
Yeah, So Joe,
Forgot I was made host. I had to bring Melissa back in. I forgot I was made host.
Gotcha. So yeah, Joe, who apparently is named Leo, new information. Definitely not the best introduction for Larry with a new person, right? I mean, comes after him, and he's what, like a 11-year-old, and he's swinging a
Something
butcher,
like that, like
a
10,
butcher
11,
knife
yeah.
around. Like, dude, I get it. You're trying to protect Nadine because she's taking care of you, but whew, not a good intro.
No, agreed. And yeah, and here's the thing, like Larry kind of expected him or kind of felt him out, knew they were coming, so was kind of prepared for them. But then like he was prepared for something. But then yeah, when it's an 11-year-old coming at you with a knife, just kind what's the word? Savage, kind of feral, a feral 10-year-old coming up to you. You don't really expect that, so it's like, oh, okay. And I did like this is a decent chapter. I'm not really invested in Larry. Like as Melissa was saying, she's not invested in Nick. I'm not invested in Larry too much. But this was a good one. It shows his growth. It shows him almost going from his carefree, whatever. At the very first chapter, we get the stoner, not stoner, but drug addict, just bender-rific kind of guy, to now overprotective, very very grandma-ish in a sense because he's been burned and just had great loss and everything, and he's just dealing with that. So, and it's shown his growth and everything from there, which is nice and interesting to see.
I agree with your grandma statement.
I do too.
Well, thank you.
Wait,
You're coming
you
through.
can hear me in
Yeah.
real time?
You're
Yes,
coming through
You're
well.
sounding great.
Lean into it.
I'm on my
Make
phone.
Make a lot of
I
statements.
think I was going to suggest that.
You know what, guys? We're going to call this the Make It Work episode.
We're just gonna get through it.
I'm going to Tim Gunn this shit. It's fine. All right. I also. Okay, so how do I say this very carefully? Knowing what I know about the future parts of the book, I don't want to say much about this chapter. But I agree with Benji that I'm less invested in this part. I liked it. I'm just less invested in it.
It's okay. For how long it was, I was pretty bored. Like
Yeah.
it doesn't feel like anything really happens. It's a lot
It
of
doesn't, though.
almost doing something, and I don't know. It's just introducing more characters is all it is, and I wasn't really invested in any of them.
No,
here's the thing,
and I also.
I was so. Oh, go ahead.
I was going to say, I also am very annoyed at Larry's obsession with Harold.
Well, that one I kind of get because he's
I know,
Yeah.
I get it because Harold looks amazing to somebody following him. I just really dislike Harold. So knowing Harold, but knowing Larry doesn't know Harold, I just want to oh, come on, Larry, if only you knew. That's all.
I do like how we get his thought description. He's got to be like mid-30s, worked in a factory. He's kind of almost he's almost writing Stu. Like he's almost depicting Stu, but Larry's
Yep.
doing it. Which, yeah, definitely funny on that. So a couple things I forgot in the last chapter, but I was going to say this chapter bored me so much that I don't even remember Swan's information at all. I don't remember her story. Lucy.
Something about
like-
a daughter.
Yeah, okay. Yeah, I couldn't tell you on that. I'm trying to find the actor here because you guys would all know the actor who played in the 1994. Bill Fagerbaker, Tom Cullen, who the 1994 was. Do you know who
He's
that
from
is, Luke?
Coach.
I was gonna say he's the nephew from Coach or the assistant coach. The hey guys, that guy in the 94
He was
cast.
great.
Oh yeah, he was a perfect one. And actually the one from the 2020 did a very good job too. That was Brad William Hankey. Very good actor. I've seen him in a few things, but this is the one I remember him from and did actually very well with. He's actually a former football player, so makes sense. But and actually I think in the 2021 they did revise it to him being mentally handicapped from like difficulties with football or sports, that kind of thing, apart from being mentally
more of
retarded.
a sports related injury. kind of thing.
Yes, yeah, CTE
Yep.
effect kind of thing.
Yep.
So
makes sense.
anyway, yeah, make it topical, But going back to this chapter here, yeah, it was fine. I like the Joe guitar thing, music
Yes.
soothes the savage beast, kind of thing. But yeah, not too much with it. Just long, boring chapter.
I did like the security blanket knife. I thought that was an interesting twist.
Yeah.
Right?
Yeah.
I don't know. Yeah.
I forget his backstory, and spoilers, we already know his real name because the notes here put the real name in there. And I don't remember if we actually get his backstory later, like if we get the full thing of it. But I would like to know Joe's backstory before Nadine found him because we don't get that here or anything.
I don't
so.
know.
All right. Anybody got anything else for 44?
Nope.
No. All right. Luke, you want to read 45?
Sure. She tottered out onto her porch at 20 to 11 in the morning of July 20th. Mother Abigail is in the house. Eating toast and remembering things, she prepares a chicken dinner for her guests that are going to be arriving that night. Weasels try to take it. She banishes them back to the corn. Text day, well, that's next day, her guests arrive. Nick, Ralph, Tom, and more. Mother A tells them they are all to go west to Boulder, Colorado, to deal with the Dark Man. But first, they have a rest at her farm. It is an extended and peaceful interlude. I have a very specific reference that this chapter reminds me of. This is like Rivendell, is what it feels like. This is people have come together, calm before a storm kind of chapter. Happens in
The last homely home.
Exactly. That's exactly what it feels like. And she has a bit of an Elrond kind of vibe, a little bit, where she's just another regular person, but she's also incredibly special. So that's the reference that I had the feeling of. And I don't know where they're, what their story is going to look like in the next couple chapters, but that is exactly what vibe I got from it, at least.
Yeah. No, I definitely agree with you. It's that, calm. We get a good long backstory. We get the whole 108 years of Abigail's life pretty much summed up in the chapter. Long chapter again, but this one was a lot more interesting. I actually cared about this. Going to my notes, though, 2020, Mother Abigail was played by Whoopi Goldberg to a subpar performance, but Whoopi's not a good actress, in my opinion. But
Okay, that's an opinion.
And that's what I said. In my opinion, subpar performance.
You did not actually say that. You didn't specify with my opinion. You just said subpar. Anyway,
and then I said, then in my opinion, but the true Mother Abigail, Ruby Dee, killed it in 1994. She's the true Mother Abigail. Just say it. Anyway, had to say that. But I like we get the story of her at the Grange. We get the story of her father's, and grandfather's escape from slavery into her father's building up the farm and everything, or freedom from slavery, I should say, and everything. I do kind of like it's a weird dynamic because you could tell there's especially in this chapter, you could tell there's parts that were rewritten in 1990 and stuff that was left in 77. There's a lot more in the Franny chapters that we'll get to that stood out to me, but this one had a few interesting ones. Like, I guess in the original, her letters were probably from Nixon when she would hit 100, and not Reagan. That kind of stuff, like small things, small details like that. But it's just interesting because she would have been written in 77. She would have been born in 1869, so just after slavery had ended and everything, apart from 25 years after it had ended. So a little time differences of her family's history that had to be shifted around too from start to finish. But regardless, there's the writing style I always linger on. But we get the weasels. We get the weasel attack. Now, was that a real weasel attack?
I can't really tell what that is.
I mean, it looks...
It is Mother Abigail surrounded by weasels, and she's got the bag of chickens over her shoulder. It is the only illustration in this whole 5-chapter section.
Oh,
and the only reason I packed the book with me on this trip.
Hi. Like every time side note, every time the audiobook reader would say the hi, it sounded like she was in like a karate chop. Hi. Like trying to swing at them. It's just every time made me laugh.
Yeah. I love Mother Abigail. And not in old lady who is so wise. Like, she's cool. You know what I mean? Like, she's the youngest sister of a whole bunch of brothers, and you can just see that tough as nails, like, I can keep up with the big boys thing in her, no matter how old she is.
Mm-hmm.
I appreciate that from her. I also really like the way she talks to God. And not that we do a lot of religious talk here. We don't. And I'm not going to go too far down that road. But I like that it's just, I'm just going to talk to you and you're my friend. And sometimes you do things I don't like. And I'm going to tell you that I don't like it. But like, I get it because that's what you're doing. My favorite one of those lines, I will tell you, I listened to this chapter twice while walking Leo to his friend's house and back. So he's got a new friend in the neighborhood. We walk him over there. And this is the chapter that's always on. So I'm always listening to Mother Abigail as I'm walking. And I'm laughing out loud walking down the street to Mother Abigail. I don't laugh at any other parts of the book because she's funny. But the line that stuck out to me the most was when she's trying to, I don't remember if she's going to her friend's house to get the chickens or walking home. And she's like, I really don't want to walk this far. And she goes, well, the Lord provides strength, not taxi cabs. And then and goes. And it's like, okay, he's going to get me there. Maybe not in the way I want. I would like a car, please. But if not, he'll give me the strength to get. I just like the way she still asks for the things of this world, right? The physical things, but then realizes and can recognize and say, but that's not how this works. So I have to do it myself. So I don't know. She makes me happy.
No, I
which
thought
I think
she
is the
was.
point.
I thought she was a very enjoyable character. I enjoyed her chapter quite a bit, and yeah, there's a lot of religion talk in this whole section. Comes up in one of the next chapters too, and there's just a lot of it. But like that's fine, whatever, it's okay. And but I really respect her because she has that old country woman get shit done, give a shit attitude. And she just goes out and fucking gets it, like she gets after it and gets the job done. And she's not, looking for handouts. She's looking to contribute what she can. And she knows that she has limitations, but at the same time, when it comes down to they're getting ready to slaughter this pig, and these two burly men are like, I don't know if I can do it. And she goes, all right, hand me the knife. And she does it. Like she takes care of it. And I really like her conviction to get the shit that needs to get done. Reminds me of Grandma Joni, I'll put it that way, in some ways.
Yeah. Or Grandma Emmeline even.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah. So, yeah, I mean, you guys nail on the head. So we do get Nick and Ralph and Tom, and they do talk about what the plans are. It's decided they're going to head west to Boulder, which I don't know, King's obsession with freaking Colorado. There's nothing good that ever comes out of Colorado, especially in the King book. They got some good beers. I can't say that, but no. So, but I did like going back to the God discussion. You're right. It's not. That was one issue I had with this book is the very heavy-handed religious aspect of it. But for Mother Abigail, it feels natural. It's a natural, like if I was in Nick's position, I kind of aligned thought-wise with Nick very similarly. And he's like, I don't believe in God. That's okay. He believes in you. And like if someone to say that to me, I'd be like, okay, you know what? I'm on board. Like it would, it doesn't matter if it's what you're saying, and I'm not saying I believe it, but it's a helpful thing. So I liked that line. Like that one really stood out to me of just a good Christian line that I could hear anybody saying to you.
It does seem very authentic coming from her too, though. Like that's the thing. Like it doesn't seem like it's being forced at all. And we're in her perspective, obviously. And she, like Melissa said, she's talking to him as if they've just been buddies for a long time. And I appreciate the authenticity she brings to it. It feels natural for her, for sure.
Mm-hmm. I like how by the end of the chapter we shift to Nick. It's the same chapter, but we really get Nick part 2. Are we ready to kind of move on to his perspective in this chapter, if we will? I think what's interesting to me about the Nick stuff is the reluctant leader component that happens a lot with him, that everybody looks to him and he's, half the time probably just sitting there trying to follow the conversation around the room with his eyes to try and keep up. But the group that he's collected, because now it's not just Ralph and Tom, it's Ralph and Tom and the little girl and the doctor, well, the veterinarian, and then the two women, and I don't know if there's more. And all of a sudden, like, he's the boss, and he's the youngest besides the little girl. He's the kid, and you know, and Mother Abigail even says, like, you have the touch on you, like, I'm waiting for you, and I'm waiting for a few others, but they're not here yet. That weight is heavy for him.
Absolutely. And he's wearing it well, though. You know, like, I think you said it
Yes.
perfectly. The reluctant leader, which probably makes him the best kind of leader, because he
Mhm.
knows that someone just has to do it, and right now no one else is stepping up to do it. But he knows somebody kind of has to be the point man, and he realizes his difficulties in communication, right? But I think because of that, his perception on things is probably better, because he has to perceive things in his own ways, which I think gives him a
Mhm.
better chance of communicating more successfully, because he has to pay attention to things differently, and he doesn't have as not a really good way, less noise to distract him. Not exactly what I meant to say there, but I think it's easier for him to kind of cut through other interrelationship bullshit kinds of things,
Yes,
if that makes sense.
it does.
But I like Nick being kind of put into that role, because I think he'll be successful at it.
Mhm.
All right. So we good on Mother Abigail and Nick and all them?
I think so.
Okay. All right. So we're gonna move on to 46. It was late evening, July 27th. They were camped on what the sign, now half demolished by summer storms, proclaimed to be the Kunkel Fairgrounds. Stu's party is growing. They are taking meds to control the dreams. Franny palmsters because she's pregnant. She's now writing a journal, partly about the trip, partly to tell her child about the lost world. A party member, Mark, has appendicitis. The chapter proceeds while in Franny's diary entries. She is not generous to Harold. Stu operates on Mark. Mark dies. Another long chapter. This is also where we get the background to Stu's imprisonment as well. I believe was this chapter.
I think
Where they-
so. I think this is where they
yeah.
went to the location.
Yes, because there was a lot of flashbacks.
Mm-hmm.
Because
Yeah, that
the live story was Mark and Perrion, was that her name?
yeah.
Mark having appendicitis and having to deal with the fallout of that. That's the in chapter story, I believe.
Mhm.
But the backstory is everything from grabbing Glenn from the last time we saw them, visiting Stovington, and meeting Mark and Perrion.
Correct.
There was a lot happening, and yet all I kept thinking was, okay, we've got your story and you're traveling to Nebraska.
Pretty much. And there is a lot of Harold as well in this chapter. There's more in the next one, but there's a lot of him in this chapter, and how Franny has to deal with him, and it just sucks that it's been thrust onto her so hard, because she's also kind of a polite person and like doesn't want to hurt his feelings, but at the same time, like, he needs to fuck right off a little, not a little, like a lot.
Like a
This
lot.
is also how Stu figures out how to handle Randall. Like, Stu knows what needs to get done.
You mean Harold, not Randall.
No, I said
You said Randall.
okay. All right, I meant Harold. Sorry.
I know. I'm
But,
correct.
Yeah,
You're fine.
I got you. No, I said Harold, but Stu knows how to handle Harold. Yeah, that's how the script came, because he knows that Harold needs to think it was his idea, or be the one to say it or anything like that, for anything to really get done without him bitching and moaning. So instead of Stu saying, "Hey, we're going to do this," he'll go to Harold and say, "What do you think about this? Or do you have any ideas of how we could do this?" And make it be Harold's idea, and it gets played out that way. Again, showing Stu's cunningness of how to deal with the situation.
Oh yeah, no, he definitely starts with respect with Harold, right? Like lets him know that I value your opinion. I'm gonna make you feel like this is your idea, but I'm really kind of letting you know this is what we're gonna do. What are your thoughts? Like
Yeah.
it's
Well,
it works. It works.
yeah, and I'd also say he does actually legitimately respect his opinion because Harold is a knowledgeable guy in that sense. He just doesn't try. He also knows he's kind of petulant child, so it's like, yes, you're smart. The problem is, you're smart, so we have to act like we all know that you're smart. It's kind of thing, and so it's he does respect his opinion, but it's at the same time he doesn't respect him, and you could tell just the subtleties of that.
Hmm.
So, all right. Thinking about what else happened in this chapter. Like I said, we're getting a lot of. This is where I was talking about the notes in the diary uh, to the child, to the Lone Ranger, as Franny's calling him. She's like, yeah, there's certain things like digs. The word digs. You might talk to friends and go and hang out at the digs. And there's T-shirts and people say that shit happens and all this. And it's like, that was 70s, like that, like it just stuff that stuck out to me more so than 1990. Like, we're gonna go hang out hey, cool digs, man, is the way it's read. It's like that's a 77 reference over a 1990 reference.
I don't know. I like, because I was listening for that, and I felt like a lot of it. Yes, it's not 90s, but she was writing this in 90, so I really have to look at it as a perspective of from the 80s.
True.
And I think a lot of it fits with remembering. I mean, she's 22 years old in 1990, so that means she was a teenager, right? She was in high school and college the last 8 years from 82 on. Anything 80s, and a lot of that I felt like it didn't stick out to me as too far out. If you remember that we're not talking 90s, we're talking the first year
Yes.
of that decade.
No, agree. And to me, it did. And like the other one that stuck out was, oh, when they used to show those old they used to ride hogs. We're not riding hogs, we're riding Hondas. But the hogs, they were like from those motorcycle movies that we'd go to the drive-in and watch in back in high school. And the 80s didn't have motorcycle. That was a 70s thing. It was more of the motorcycle movies was the 80s or was the 70s. Yes, like late 60s, early 70s was more of the motorcycle.
I don't know, like, but you would go to the
rider.
drive-in, you would do those things that
I understand. I'm not saying the drive-in part. I'm saying the motorcycle movies.
I think you're a little bit hung up on this, and I don't necessarily think this is it.
I know I'm hung up on it,
Okay.
and I know that's why I'm not trying to like expand. I'm just knocking them out. So anyway, done. Moving on. Anybody got anything else on this chapter though? It wasn't super eventful, but
I liked going back to Stovington and how that affected Stu. Like obviously he was struggling with being there because it was a bit traumatic for him, right? And so he stays outside, but like they kind of all go in and explore a little bit. And I guess it was who was the other guy? Who's the other guy? It's not
Glenn.
Yeah, Glenn. He's walking around, in there with Franny and Harold, and he goes, "Yeah, I kind of get why Stu may have been feeling weird about coming in here today because I think he probably had to kill that guy to get out." Like, I just like that they are noticing what he had to do to get out and kind of showed some respect and even Harold kind of got it too. It seemed like where it showed some, I don't know, social awareness of who they're walking around with, and I thought it was good to see. But not much more outside of that.
Yeah, agreed. And then you get Stu's interaction with Mark trying to save him, and Perrin, Mark's girlfriend. We get a brief backstory of it. Of they met, kind of hooked up, and they were just each other's person, kind of thing. But and Stu's going.
Go ahead, sorry.
Oh no, you're fine. I was just saying, Stu's going cutting into him. He's like, "Wipe my brow," and they were like, "Stu, you can stop." He's like, "What? He's been dead for 5 minutes." Yeah, and at least he tried something. And I think this is also the chapter where we get the ideas of all of them being college educated. apart
Yeah.
from Stu.
Yeah, that was
know?
the thing I was going to talk about, and it's I like how, they're almost all liberal arts majors to some extent, whether it's English or sociology or all these things. And obviously, even Harold is very passionately wanting to be a writer. So it's kind of like all of them feel like they don't have any real practical, useful things in this situation that they're bringing to the table. And then they even bring up, we don't even have like someone who is an ag, to where maybe they saw someone like an animal get butchered at some point and we just have no idea what we're doing. It's not like the body parts are labeled on the inside. Like I thought it was nice that they were struggling through something that, and they even brought it up, that's something that, oh, it's not a big deal. Appendicitis, go and get your appendix removed. Sometimes they'll just take it out if they're in there anyway because you're already opened up. And they're like, but none of us have ever even done anything like this, like at all. So it was nice to see them being very aware of their own limitations with that, and how realistic it felt, because I think that would be a fairly common issue of something like that happening and no one having any idea what to do in a situation like that.
No, agreed. Melissa, any thoughts on it?
No, I think the most important thing from this chapter is we don't have science.
Well, they
That's
don't
what
have
this
science.
chapter was doing. Okay.
Yeah, like Stu and all of them don't have science. I'm sure some of them have survived. We just haven't seen them yet. But yeah, it is telling of, like, I think we kind of joked about it in the first episode of this series, of what would we do, where would we go, and kind of what would be the mindset. And my thing is like, yeah, find your engineers, find your mechanical engineers. Don't know about structural, but we can find room for them. But find like the mechanical engineers, find the scientists, find the farmers, find that, like, those are the people I'm going to be hanging out with. The book readers, yeah, we'll get you a burger later. It's kind of like my mentality. I'm like halfway in the middle. Like, I kind of fall more towards I shouldn't say rugged side, but blue collar side of things. So it's like, I think I'll be okay on that front. But yeah, I still have no fucking knowledge of most of the shit. So I'm screwed either way. I have as much as you guys do. So it's, we'll figure it out. But all right. Last chapter. Unless anybody's got anything else.
Nope, go ahead.
All right, Luke, go for it.
When it happened fast. Stu's group runs into a larger survivor group, 4 men, 8 women. In Franny's POV, we see the ambush play out in a gun battle. They are all incompetent fighters, except for Stu, and his is only competent, not Superman. A brutally realistic depiction of sudden chaotic violence. The captive women save Stu's party by turning on their captors. This is how Dana Jurgens and Susan Stern join Stu's party. The scene was cut from the original release. We get their backstory. Franny thinks Stu is attracted to Dana. She gets jealous. Later, Harold tries to kiss Franny and professes love. It goes poorly. Very poorly. Franny goes back to Stu. They talk, they kiss, they make love. Harold sees them. Later, he sneaks away and reads her diary. He begins his own journal.
I need to start by saying that is an incorrect summary. The scene with Harold and Franny was 3 weeks earlier. It was a flashback.
Mm-hmm.
Because she said in the previous chapter, oh, the time that Harold tried to make love to me. And then this is actually seeing him do that attempt. So its timeline is off.
Sure.
But
Yep,
it did happen. It just didn't happen quite so
present.
sequentially as it said. Yeah.
Yep, fair.
Gotcha. So thoughts, Melissa?
I can't decide if I want to talk about what a ginormous fuck Harold is, or the absolute petrifying reality of the zoo of the men like drugging the women and raping them in every orifice. and just how absolutely terrifying and realistic that would absolutely be in this scenario. Like, this chapter gives me so much anxiety as a woman and a mother of daughters, and like I just don't anybody try to justify any of these men. That is where I am living right now, because they're all just horrible, awful, evil men. Except for maybe Stu and Glenn. That's all I'm keeping.
Yeah. That's fair. No, I was going to say Mark, but Mark already died. But no.
Right. I would have kept Mark.
Yeah. So my thought process was, because I do like how we get the flashback of Franny to Harold's POV to the 3 weeks before. Because was it even after they had met Stu that he tried it, or was it they were still on their own? I'm trying to remember that part specifically, but you get it's that feeling between the two groups, the first part of the chapter. And I'm surprised that first scene was cut out from the original, because that's a huge, that's to me a huge impactful scene, having those 8 women controlled by the 4 men. And then you get Harold's, the point of view of Harold trying to ease his way into that controlling, lover role. Now he gets shut down and he doesn't pursue it. He doesn't take quote unquote advantage of the situation that he probably could have with his size and everything. If he had wanted to, he could have been in the exact same position. He didn't. And I'm not justifying that he didn't. He's still a fucking creepy fuck. But you see that dynamic from Franny's point of view of, this could have happened to me with Harold easily, kind of thing. So I'm just I hadn't read that recap, but I'm very shocked that scene was cut from the original, because that's a standout scene to me. And Harold's the first one to grab the gun because he's a wimp. Now, granted, it was the right move to do, but he did it because he, was a person like, I'm not gonna, and he just starts lifting the gun up, and even Stu's like, no. And in this case, Stu would have been wrong, and they probably would have been dead. So it's sometimes the wimps win, but he got lucky as shit because Stu was there, and the women that decided.
They all got lucky, because none of them deserved to win that fight. Not a single person did anything worth. I mean, Stu got a couple things done, but I would not call it successful.
The women in the zoo were the heroes of the day.
100%.
They deserved it.
100% agree.
Yeah.
100%.
Absolutely. And it was funny because they, I'm glad that they went into the explanation of, oh yeah, we saw you like a day or so ago, like 2 days ago, and they had planned this out. And so that's why they stopped taking their pills. They're like, nope, we're gonna, use this because we have a chance. And which, absolutely made sense. So going on from there, we get Dana's and Susan's backstory with the zoo. Horrific, terrifying. The one asshole is like, I'm not carrying 13. You're okay. So you're going to be, what's the word I'm looking for?
Superstitious.
Thank you. Yes. Superstitious about this, but not about violently raping an 8-year-old. No problem with that. Okay. I know. And it's like, so I no justification whatsoever on that front. I'm glad it played out the way it did. And I'm glad this scene got put into the back end, because it's deserving, because this is the reality of what can happen.
And I think we need to remember, much like in the chapter before where it's, we don't have doctors. Let's talk about what this world is like without doctors. This chapter is, we don't have law.
Mm-hmm.
Because this is not an isolated group. I truly this can't be the only group of men traveling the country like this. So I like these vignettes better than the stuff with Larry, better than the stuff with Nick, because that was just our main characters traveling. But these 2 chapters do a really good job of taking I'm going to do it wrong, a micro look at what is likely a macro problem in our new world.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
Did I get those words right, Luke?
You got them right.
Absolutely. So All right, so we get some more from Franny's diary. Like we said, talk about Harold's first and only attempt at seducing her. A failed attempt, luckily, which we all knew that would be. But I do like how I believe it's this chapter, might have been the last chapter, how she says, in the past I hung out with his sister, his sister's my friend, but realistically, I would prefer to hang out with Harold. Harold's cool. And I like that, yes, he's a creepy whatever, but she can see also the good sides of him where, yeah, he's an intellectual, he knows his shit. And again, it's I hate kind of defending the guy
I
because yeah,
know.
especially
I feel like Harold is what is the best way to describe it? He is a product of a male centric world of like, I like you, so you're supposed to like me. And if you don't, then obviously there's something wrong, as opposed to just people have different tastes and that's okay. I almost don't even blame, I mean, I sort of blame Harold for that, but nobody's paid attention to treating him any differently because he's
yes.
still young. He's
Yeah.
16 and now has
And
all this power.
exactly, he's an intelligent. He's probably the smartest besides Glenn. Like realistically, the
Yeah,
most.
but Glenn is useless smart.
Yes, exactly. So Harold actually has some useful knowledge that he can get done. And the thing is with him, it's as he says, and like when it shifts to him, he's like, yeah, here's the thing. I know those women. They go for the captain of the football team, the same captain of the football team who'll shove me in my locker and flush my head down the toilet and do all this. So that's the product he was grown up in because he had no one to protect him because he couldn't protect himself.
I don't
And
even think it's a protecting. It's the idea
Well-
that nobody gives us as much of a shit about you as they think they do.
yeah,
It's that nobody's paying as much attention to you. It's not that they're out to get you. It's just that like everybody's self-centered and therefore your perspective is on, oh, they must all hate me. Really, it's whatever. Then they forget. I don't know.
no,
We can go
I
into a
don't
whole
disagree.
debate about this, and I'd like to like move on from that. 'cause
Yeah,
this
no,
is
no,
like
no, that's fine.
a rabbit hole.
That's fine. So let's get to the creepy part of let's get to the sweet part. We get the interaction with Stu and Franny. They finally get to have
Long
their time
overdue.
and
Totally stupid waiting.
stupid waiting. I mean, yeah, it is, but a cute scene in the sense of he asks her about why she hasn't been taking her pills because he's
Mhm.
noticed, and she's like, "Well, I didn't want to hurt the baby." And I totally got a Hank Hill of a what? Like mental image of Stu just kind of slowly like, huh? But he clicked it right on. It's like, okay, no issue, and which we all know that about Stu. He wouldn't have a problem with that situation from knowing him interpersonally from our point of view. For Franny, doesn't realize it until that point that she could be honest with him about it. Agree, disagree.
Yeah,
sorry.
yeah. I mean,
I'm sorry. I'm looking at
I don't know if Melissa was jumping in there or not. So, yeah, I thought it was a nice scene. Definitely overdue, and he does show that he's a decent guy again and again and again, and like he doesn't even balk. Yeah, he double takes a little bit, but he's not like a, are you fucking kidding me? Like you didn't tell me. Like he just
Yeah.
rolls with the punches, and he knows that okay, well that's just another piece of this relationship. Next, like it's not a deal breaker for him, and she is worried about that, right? Because she feels like maybe she should have mentioned it beforehand, but he's a decent guy, and he can roll with it pretty well. So I thought it was a good moment for him.
I think you guys are missing out on the fact that Stu's initial reaction is not the most important thing here. It's the fact that the very first words out of his mouth are about how hard it was for Franny. It's not about him. It's not about his opinion. It's not about his feelings. It is about how strong she must have been and how hard this must have been for her. What an intelligent and compassionate answer. Because literally anything else would have been about Stu. And I think, especially given a chapter of men holding women hostage and Harold thinking that Fran is his property, any reaction of, oh, I didn't know, and oh, that's like anything that was about him and his feelings, which, let's be honest, in this male centric world, that is obviously happening because, right, Fran said, we're just frailer. Thank you, men, for inventing technology so that we can feel equal. Any other response from Stu would have lumped him in with all of them on a lesser degree, but it would have been about him and male dominance. And he made it about her. That's what sets Stu apart from almost everybody else in the entire story, because he makes it about somebody else. And so far, we haven't had anybody else really do that.
I would say only Nick, potentially so far, has been trying to take care
Yeah.
of others. Larry's on his way there, it seems, what we got from him in this section.
I'm totally cool with Larry's growth.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Compassion is the right word that I was bumbling around
Yes.
trying to come up with, for sure.
And-
It is the
and
correct word,
you're
for sure.
absolutely right, Melissa, on it. And
I know I'm right.
and I was, my point was, all I would say was with the double take, like, what, and then when I just didn't have the mental capacity to expand on it as you so eloquently did. So
That's what I'm here for.
So, I know.
It's fine.
I was gonna make a joke. Oh, you said the long overdue part though for the hooking up. It's only been 3 weeks since they've met. Three,
month.
maybe a month. So
It's
I mean,
July 30th when that happens. And they
they met on 4th of July, I believe, or
Pretty
right
sure,
around
right around there. So it's been about a month.
So
Yeah,
I
but
can't
this
say
world moves
time-
fast.
I understand. I'm just saying with it, time frame wise, a month holding up, especially wanting to not rock the boat with the rest of the party, i.e.
See, and I think
Harold.
that's the bullshit part. I think
agree.
that's bullshit.
I agree. But
Especially
it's
since he
understandable.
tried 3 weeks before. He tried, it was July 19th when he tried. It was 2 weeks
Yeah.
ago. And the way, no, see, it was stupid. Why
I
waste time?
agree. Like I do agree, but I'm just also saying it made sense in my point. And so it wasn't a rush to judgment. And because you had to make sure, you had to know that it was absolutely right in that situation, at least for them. So I don't say it's a late thing, but that was you just made that statement. I was like, I don't know if I'd say too late, but you're right. Moves fast. Then we get Harold, who's been happy all day long. All day.
Every dog has his day.
Every dog has his day. Smiling, practicing smiling. I think that's actually a later thing, but he's been happy, been unnervingly happy. And then we get flash to Harold's perspective that night. He saw Stu and Franny, and he found her diary and has read everything she's written about him. And now he's starting his own. And it's left
And
at
I'm sure he didn't read the parts that she talks about how great he is and how if he would only do this one little thing, he could grow. He didn't read that because he only sees the world as attacking him. So he only read the parts about how bad he is.
Oh, see, and I think actually he
Yeah.
probably did because that's why he's calm. Like he's.
Oh
been
no, I'm sure
smiling
he read them. I just don't think he internalized them as he would have internalized the
No.
negative talk that she has in there.
Yes, he interpreted them as what he needs to project. Like that's why he's being more happy. He's not being a Debbie Downer or a negative whatever towards every idea and everything. He's being happy go lucky with it, and that's what he read is, oh, she wants me to be happier. She wants me to be more engaging and all that. And so that's why he's putting on this front of the happiness. Every dog has his day. But in the back of his mind now, he's like, I'm going to either get A or B. I'm going to get revenge or I'm going to get my way or I'm going to get both. At least that's the way it's portrayed by the end of the chapter here by the journal thing.
For me, I took it as 100% revenge. He knows the information he needed. There's no question. I think he's genuinely happy because he's plotting something. That's the 100% what I'd take it as.
It could be.
And
Very well.
because every dog has his day, which means he is going to go take that day because it's not going to happen to him. In his mind, he has to do it for himself because he's a big fucking crybaby, and which means he has to create a situation that he can be happy with, and or else he's going to avidly choose to not be happy every day because that's who his personality is. I don't have a great warm fuzzy feeling about what he's got coming up his sleeve. Say
I
that much.
agree. I agree. There ain't nothing good coming out of Harold Lautner's brain.
No, not right now.
All right. So I think that kind of wraps up the summaries of the chapters pretty decently. I am interested to see where they go. I'm not gonna lie, I hope we get some more from the other side. A little bit at least on the next few chapters, just because
Trash Can Man?
Trash Can
Man?
or other
Lloyd?
guy, Lloyd. Trash
Lloyd.
Can and Lloyd. I'll take. You know, I'm good with either one of them. I want something more than just the heroes of the story plucking along, getting together. You know,
I'd like them to get together. I'm kind of tired of traveling across the country, but it's a big.
But isn't Lord of the
country.
Rings one of your favorite books? It's all walking. Anyway,
Yes, but they're together to start.
to start.
Maybe this is the anti Lord of the Rings. Maybe they're going to end
exactly.
up with jewelry at the end.
Right. So, all right. Did we have any other notes or anything? I saw you had one note there.
I said it.
Melissa. Like,
I
oh, you
said
did?
it.
Okay,
I worked it
Gotcha.
into the conversation.
fair enough. I wasn't listening, so I was not paying attention to your notes.
Let me fix my face. Hold on.
So we don't. I don't think anybody came up with any questions. Anybody can anybody come up with one on the fly, real quick? Luke, you got anything? As the new reader, I should say. Like
yeah,
that pretty
it's
good.
definitely more of a rhetorical question because there's an answer that I can't know. But when are we going to see Julie Lawry again? That's going to be a thing. That's not going to be a good thing either. Seeing her again, I think her and Harold are going to team up at some point. It's not going to go well. That's the feeling I have
Okay.
for it. It's not really a question, but that's what
fair.
I feel like is a potential thing.
At least that Harold might get laid.
Hey, be a real easy, sure shot for him.
Yeah, would.
Right. All right. So with that, we're gonna wrap it up semi-early here, and we're gonna go into our favorite thing. Apparently, I'm the only one that wrote something down for that. So I'll go with mine first. Give you two a second to think about it. But mine was honestly Tom being smart enough to nope the fuck out and go into the barn. Like he's like, I'm going, and it just showed his intelligence. I like the intelligence of Tom, especially with when he went into his blank out mode, when he would just glass over and he would just process things. It's a different process than most people, but he was still able to process them, get to what point he needed to figure out. And I think there's going to be a lot from Tom that we'll see that is going to be enjoyable. Like he's just a good dude. That probably one of my more favorite stories going through this is who I like to follow. So
Sure.
Luke?
My favorite thing was Mother Abigail's background story. I thought she was a very interesting character, a lot to offer, and yeah, like I kind of said earlier, like I really like her get shit done attitude and her capability that she brings, even at 108, and she still walks 4 miles to go get these chickens because she has people coming over, and 4 miles back, and gets all of this done. And just hearing her talk about like the difficulties of being an older woman, but she just puts up with it. And even at 108, she's not asking for favors. She's doing it herself. And I thought she was a really fun, cool character to have.
Agreed. So before I get to Melissa, as a side note to Mother Abigail that I just remembered, one of my favorite things was when she's talking to Nick, and Nick's like, "I can't understand you," and she's like, "Oh yeah, let me go put these in," and puts her fake teeth in. As a guy with fake teeth, I called it out. It made me smile, like, because I understand now after having these for about 4.5, 5 years of why women when they get home take their bra off. It's just that release feeling. I can relate. Just pop it's like for her, I can completely understand. Just I don't need to wear them. Why the fuck do I need to wear them right now? But for Nick to call her out and her be like, "Oh yeah, I'll make this adjustment for you," and she does. It just shows her good character, but it's also just a funny bit of something that stuck out to me. Nobody else probably even would have thought twice about it, but I got a chuckle out of the situation.
Yeah, no, I agree.
All right,
That's
Melissa. Favorite
Luke
thing.
took my answer. So I just scanned the entire Mother Abigail chapter to see if I could come up with anything else. It's really Mother Abigail. So I went back to the one thing I had already written down. The first thing to do was to get down to Addie Richardson's hen house, and that was a goodish way, 4 or 5 miles. She found herself wondering if the Lord was going to send her an eagle to fly those 4 miles, or send Elijah in his fiery chariot to give her a lift. Blasphemy, she told herself complacently. The Lord provides strength, not taxi cabs. Like, first of all, the eagles are coming, or not coming, so Lord of the Rings reference.
Yep.
Because she has the same, just like, she's just human. I don't want to walk this, and I don't want to do this, and I don't want to do the dishes, and I don't want to, like, somebody help me. Well, nobody's going to help me. So instead of bitching about it or posting it on Twitter or Facebook or complaining and social media land, she just does the shit she's supposed to do without anybody telling her. So I don't know. I like her strong. She's a grown ass woman, goddammit, and can handle her shit, and I appreciate her.
Exactly. So, all right. So, final thoughts on this section or what's to come, Melissa?
The only thing I wrote is, oh, Harold. I just want to, like, slap him. I want to slap him like a big sister and be like, sit your ass down, shut up, and, like, listen to what I'm trying to tell you. Don't feel things. Use your head. I don't know.
Luke?
Stop making it about you.
I don't really have any final thoughts on it. A lot of really boring spots, I thought. Overall, it, again, doesn't feel like we've done much, even though there's a lot of great scenes. I don't know. It's almost like it's covering such a wide range, and not much is really happening. But I just have a feeling that we're on the jump off point from here. Like, that's why I made the Rivendell statement earlier. It feels like that fellowship kind of thing is happening now, and we're halfway through Fellowship of the Ring now. The story's actually starting now, is how I feel.
Yeah, and that's fair. And yeah, this section, I mean, if you were reading this book just straight through, wouldn't bother anybody. It's 2 days of a read. It's a good read, but as we're doing it split up, this is all I've been able to read for the last month. It's okay. Yeah. Just read it, move on kind of thing. So it's not bad, but definitely one that, like I said, there's only a couple standout points. Mother Abigail, the battle with the sex zoo, and Tom Cullen. To me, everything else in this section is pretty much forgettable. Joe's kind of interesting. Like I said, I want to see where he goes. But anyway, with that said, it up and make sure you're following us on social medias at Floats Down Here on Twitter and Instagram. MOON spells the Floats Down Here at gmail.com. You can find all of our shows at thepodcastthat.com. Subscribe and rate us on iTunes and on YouTube under Drawbridge Media.
This show and all of our shows at thepodcastthat.com and Drawbridge Media on YouTube are produced with the love and support of our wonderful Imaginary Legion patrons. You can learn more about our reward tiers at patreon.com/stayimaginary.
We'll be back in April reading the next part of book 2. We actually broke book 2 up over 3 months because it's a very long section. So we're going to be doing chapters 48 through 52. This will be our shortest section of 175 pages. The section we just did was actually the second shortest at 179. So 175 pages, not even 200 pages. We'll be back in about 3 weeks.
Yep. You'll float too.
Stay imaginary.
Thanks.
The podcast that floats down here.
Hi, I'm Melissa, your Stephen King veteran.
Hi, I'm Ben, the Stephen King and horror film fanboy.
And hello, I'm Luke, your first-time Stephen King reader.